All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. You are now watching A Deeper PTE. I'm your host, PTE, also known as Permission to Exist. Today is Sunday, September 10th, 2023, and we have not been on this channel since February of 2023. So it's been a while. A lot has been going on. Those of you who follow my main channel, Permission to Exist, already know pretty much the backstory of everything that's been going on these past couple of months. If you don't know, be sure to check that out. Um, some good news and some really bad news. But I'm getting there and we're getting better. A lot of you requested on my most recent live stream over there to do a show on a deeper PTE. So here we are. We are here this evening. Welcome everyone to the show. Welcome as you fill in. It's probably taken a while for those notifications to go out to everyone since this channel has been dormant for several months. So, welcome everyone. Tonight, we are going to talk about the recent disclosure of UFOs. I was going to say confirmed by Congress, but it really wasn't Congress who confirmed it. It was people who came to testify at Congress, and what they said, and how the whole world's reaction was kind of like, which I think is kind of funny considering, the gravity of what they were trying to tell us at that hearing. Everyone was just kind of like, yeah. And so we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to go a little bit deeper, some of my theories on why I actually think the aliens are already here. And then we're going to explore a little bit further into other people's theories regarding alien contact. So it should be a very interesting show. Looking forward to sharing this with you guys. So first, why don't we jump right in? I wanted to make sure you guys saw a picture of the blue moon. So this happened on August 31st, 2023, and it was absolutely gorgeous. The picture itself truly does it no justice. You had to be there, you had to see it for yourself. And the most interesting thing about it, as you can see from the picture on your screen, is it really did cast like a blue hue or like a blue tint over the whole entire area. So it was absolutely gorgeous. And I wanted to make sure you guys saw that just in case you didn't get a chance to see the blue moon. And it's funny because I looked it up, and apparently blue moons only happen once every 10 years or so, hence the saying, once in a blue moon. So I wanted to make sure you guys saw the blue moon. It was really beautiful. And I got quite a few pictures of it. So I wanted to make sure you guys saw that. Welcome to the show, everyone. Let me get my other screen pulled up over here and we'll get going. We got a comment in the chat that says, we've been speculating about this since the X-Files. No one cares that they finally decided to admit it, right? And hey, attitude problem, how are you? How you been? Right. And guys, there was the funniest video. It was either on Instagram or on Twitter that I saw it. And for the life of me, I couldn't find it. And it would have been perfect for the show. I can't believe that I didn't save it somewhere, find it somewhere. But it was basically people's reaction to them announcing aliens. So I'll tell you about it in a second. But it was so funny. So funny. So let's take a look at what actually happened. So this all happened around late January. This is dated July 27th. Excuse me, I said late January, late July. July 27th, 2023, the U.S. recovered non-human biologics from UFO crash sites, former intel official says. 3 military veterans testified in Congress's highly anticipated hearing on UFOs Wednesday, including a former Air Force intelligence officer who claimed the U.S. government has operated a secret, multi-decade reverse engineering program of recovered vessels. He also said the U.S. has recovered non-human biologics from alleged crash sites. But while the topic of little green men did come up, much of the discussion centered on improving processes for reporting unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, the military's term for UFOs, and increasingly UAP refers to anomalous rather than aerial phenomena to account for sightings in both air and water. There are also calls to remove the stigma for aviators who report UAP sightings and to ensure oversight of government programs that investigate them. Retired Major David Grush, who went from being part of the Pentagon's UAP task force to becoming a whistleblower, told the House Oversight Committee's National Security Subcommittee that he had been denied access to some government UFO programs, but that he knows the exact locations of UAPs in the US possession. All right. So that's kind of the gist of it. And then I have another article here that I didn't actually put on this screen, but I'll read just the top five. This article is titled Top Five Most Memorable Moments from Congress's UFO Hearing. And those are that the government is absolutely in possession of UAPs, that non human biologics were found at the crash site. Officials must establish a safe and transparent reporting process. There's a stigma associated with sightings and it silences possible witnesses, and that UFOs have been spotted accelerating to supersonic speeds. So that's like the summary and the big takeaway from the hearings. And the reason I'm kind of chuckling and laughing to myself is not because of the hearings themselves, it was because of everyone's reaction to it. Like I think they thought it was going to be like an album drop and the whole world was going to be like, "Oh my god, the United States confirmed UFOs? What? They have non-human biologics? What? Oh my god." And everyone was just kind of like, "Yeah, so what? Who cares?" Now, one of the videos I saw that's making me laugh just remembering it, they were like, "Okay, so what? So are the aliens, are they going to come help with this economy? Are they going to come help bring down housing prices? Like, are you going to do anything about these psychopaths in our government? Like, are you going to do anything about the homeless crisis that we're facing? Homelessness crisis. Are you going to do anything about those things? Anything? Are you going to raise wages? What are you going to do about the student loan debt? Nothing? Then nobody cares. And it's just so funny and sad at the same time that as a society, we are so jaded by our experience. And I'm sure worldwide, but in particular in the United States, we are so jaded by our experience in this place that even the announcement of UFOs is not really enough to, make us care. It's not moving enough and it's not substantial enough to impact our day-to-day life. And I think until it is, nobody's going to care. Like I predict that people would be on their way to work, see a UFO and just be like, yeah, okay, well, these bills aren't going to pay themselves. So unless they're coming down here to alleviate us of these bills or help us pay some of these bills, then no one cares. Right. Chat says nothing can phase us anymore. Like seriously. Like, unless y'all are not going to start up with the abductions and make with the abductions, no one cares. Chat says we're desensitized. Absolutely. Completely desensitized. Like, no one cares. Like, the US Congress just told us that they have these vehicles. They have non human biologics, basically meaning like you could almost say like the body or material matter of somebody's body, just not human. We got that. People aren't allowed to speak up. So when pilots see things like this, they're actually not allowed to say anything because then they'll be like evaluated for whether or not they're sane. And if they're determined to be not sane, they're not allowed to fly airplanes, which makes a lot of sense, right? So they don't say anything. They don't even tell their colleagues, hey, man, when I was flying over Texas, I saw fill in the blank. Because their colleagues might go report them and say, hey, I think he's losing it over here. Right. So, they, they're telling us all of these things under oath in Congress and no one cares. So, chat says, I remember waking up in the middle of the night and seeing these congressional hearings on UFOs. And I left in the comments, how do we know Congress aren't the aliens? Right. Exactly. Which actually kind of leads to one of the points I want to make here in a minute, but it was so funny. And if I can find those videos, I will link them in the comments of this live stream once it's over, because they're worth watching and they're hilarious. But yeah, we're desensitized. You can't phase us. Listen, either do something about this housing crisis that we're in, which is basically the housing market is completely frozen up right now. And I think they said that they have the lowest number of applications for new mortgages that they've had, I think, since the 70s, something like that, because it's frozen. And of course it was going to get frozen. But I'm not going to travel down that rabbit hole because that'll take me in an entirely different direction. So I'll stay focused. But unless you're going to do something about these things, guys, we don't care. We don't care. You could pull out some alien bodies from the back room and most of us would just be like, okay, CGI. Okay, special effects. Like, is that even real? No one cares. We will not care until these aliens start beaming us up. Okay. Then you might be able to make us care. But until then, thanks for the info, but everyone pretty much moved on with their life after that. So I thought that was really funny. So that's kind of the basis of this show. And then I know all of you probably know about the airplane lady who had said she flipped out and pointed to somebody in the back of the plane and said, that MFer is not real. And then they tried to find this woman for weeks. No one could find her. Then they finally found her. And the whole situation is very strange to me because she's now trying to launch like some weird influencer social media career. Like she's got a website and like it's this the whole thing is very strange. But the one question she won't answer for anyone who like bumps into her out in public is, what did you see? What made you see that? And I think the extent of her answer has been, I really apologize for being disruptive and I really apologize for ruining everyone's day that day and making people late. It was not becoming of me. And, some very well written PR type answer. But she will not answer the question, what did you see? Because that is a very unusual thing to say. That MFer is not real. And then she was also really concerned about the plane itself going down, if you guys recall the video. She was very concerned that the plane was not going to make it to its destination, largely in part to the MFer who wasn't real. So that caused a whole lot of speculation, and people were theorizing about what it is that she actually saw or who it is that she saw and what they did to make her say that. And she refuses to answer. Now, in my personal opinion, let me see if I can pull up a picture. I don't think it's the same girl. This is related, but kind of not. I think her name is Tiffany. Tiffany Airplane Lady. Yep. Okay. Okay. Yep. Perfect. Let me share my screen again. Personally, I don't think this is the same woman. Not at all. Not by a long shot. So the woman that they're presenting now is the one who has the hoop earrings on. The one here in this first picture, far left. They're saying this girl and this girl with the black tank top on are the same person, and I just absolutely don't believe it's the same girl. You can look at her and tell it's not the same girl. So the girl right here, her hair is longer. I know here it's up in a bun, but I'm sorry. Hair that long would produce a bun way bigger than that. I'm sorry. It's a different color. So the girl here is kind of blonde. This girl's hair is like dark brown. This girl is a little bit thicker than this girl. Even the shape of their head is different. So the girl with the black tank top on, her head is much more round, and she's a little bit thicker in the face. And she's a slim girl, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying her face is a little bit thicker than this girl. This girl is completely thin. Her face is very thin and almost gaunt in a way. This girl is not gaunt. All right. The nose is different, 100%. The facial structure is different. Everything about this girl is different. And then apparently this is supposed to be her too. Let me see if I can click on this picture. So apparently this is the same girl. Now, come on, y'all. Come on. Does this look like the same person to you compared to this girl up here with the black tank top on? Does that even look like the same person to you? No, it doesn't. And I know people can look different with hair, makeup, even weight loss, but you don't look that different though. Yeah, the facial structure is completely different. Completely different. And this is part of her like campaign of like rebranding herself. And I'm like, you're not even the same girl though. This is not the same person. I'm sorry. You would be hard pressed to convince me this is the same girl. I just don't believe it. Personally, I don't believe it. Look, does that look like the same human being to you? No. So anyway, she's famous for, accusing someone in the back of the plane of not being real. So among other theories that came out, some people were saying that maybe there are people among us who indeed aren't real. And I actually also heard a theory, which I don't necessarily believe per se, that, a lot of these airplanes are kind of empty. So maybe they're using holograms or holographic people to fill the plane to give the appearance that the plane is full, even though it's not really. Now, do I believe that to be true? No. I think it's kind of funny though, because I wouldn't put it past them. Like, we don't want, number one, we don't want people to know that these planes aren't full like that anymore. And number two, we don't want everyone to know that we charge them full price based on a full plane. Because if there's only 6 people on your airplane, why are you paying full price? You should have a severely discounted ticket. So they don't want you to know that these planes are empty, so they fill them with holograms. I just think it's hilarious. It's a theory though, but I don't necessarily believe it. But this woman was deeply troubled. If you saw the video, you know that she was very upset, very upset. And it has since come out that she said that someone tried to steal her AirPods and wouldn't give them back. And that's why she was saying, oh, that MFR is not real. And that's just not something you say when someone steals from you. You would probably say that MFR is a thief. Arrest that MFR. He's a thief. He stole my AirPods. That's what you would say. You wouldn't accuse them of not being a real human being. But hey, that's the story they're running with. And I just don't believe we'll ever get the true story out of this girl or what really happened that particular day. But it's all related to what we're talking about tonight. So I want to kind of get into my theories on why I personally think the aliens are already here and have been here for a while. And I'm also going to get into what I think their mechanism is of entry and why all of that is important. So those of you who follow my main channel, Permission to Exist, you know that primarily we talk about narcissists, their behaviors, the way they act, the things that they do. We analyze narcissism a lot. And one of the things that we're always analyzing is like, what's up with them? How did they get this way? We've entertained the idea that they're demon possessed. Quite often, that's a frequently cited theory. And we've entertained the idea that they might be empty seaters, meaning the lights are on, but nobody's home. The car is on, but it has no driver, things of that nature. So that's kind of related to my theories that I'm going to present to you tonight. So I think the aliens are already here. And I think they've been here for a while, but I do think that they came in large numbers, probably around the year 2000 or 2001. And the reason that I say that is because people are very different than how they used to be. Very different. And we're going to get into some of those differences here in a minute. But people just aren't the same anymore. And I can't fault social media 100% for that change. I think social media might be a mechanism, but I don't think social media is 100% responsible for what we're seeing. And if this is your first time on this channel, we talk about far out things here, strange theories, weird things. So we're going there on this channel. My other one, I just kind of keep it as normal as I can. So the first thing I've noticed about humans at large is that so many people's senses seem to be dulled. Their senses are dulled. Here's what I mean by that. They don't see things. They don't see certain things. They don't notice a lot of things. If you bring it to their attention, then they'll notice it. But if you don't, they don't see it. So I'll give you a perfect example. Now, granted, a lot of people have different struggles with their eyesight. Some people are nearsighted, some people are farsighted, some people are partially blind. I'm not really talking about people with visual issues, people who either have to wear glasses or contact lenses. Not talking about them. I'm talking about people who either have 20/20 vision or they have some sort of something that corrects their vision, contact lenses, glasses. They don't see certain things. So, for example, they may not notice how dirty a place is or how messy a place is until it's pointed out to them. They don't see it, or they don't notice shifts in color. And I do recognize some people are colorblind. Not talking about colorblind people. It's like they really don't see it. A big way that I've seen this come out is they don't it's almost like they've lost their fine sense of discernment with the eyes. So they wouldn't be able to tell you when something looks good or when something looks bad. And I recognize that that's in the eye of the beholder, that everyone has different tastes. I get that. We are not all going to agree on what looks good and what looks bad, but some things are universally and borderline scientifically agreed upon in terms of balance, in terms of structure. They can't tell you. They wouldn't be able to tell you if something looks good or bad because it's not registering anywhere. I have a coworker who frequently switches up the font sizes in her written documents and sometimes even the font itself. And whenever she'll send something over before we send it out to the whole company for us to look at it, and I'll say, "Hey, this is at 14 and that one's at 12." And she'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice." I'm like, "Wow." And she doesn't wear glasses, she doesn't have contact lenses. Now it's possible that she needs them. It's possible she needs them, so I will hold out for that possibility that she needs them. But I don't think she needs them. I think she literally just doesn't see it. I'm like, "Hey, that's actually bigger." Like in the same sentence is what I mean. Like the whole sentence will be 12 and then suddenly it'll hit 14 and then go back to 12. And it's like, "Hey, these are different sizes." "Oh my goodness, I didn't even notice." It's weird. Chat says they don't see nasty and dirty because they're nasty too. Okay. Going back to the plane lady, chat says, "I was shocked by how little coverage this got. LOL. And it seems like a lot of people are still unconvinced, despite the government confirming their existence. We're jaded. Like, give us the bodies or it didn't happen. Show us the wrecked aircraft or it didn't happen." But here's what I think they're hiding. I think they're hiding the fact that, oh, I knew there was something else I wanted to bring up. I'm glad you said that. I think they're hiding the fact that it's not quite as contained as they would like for it to be. The situation is not as contained as they would like for it to be. Like, oh, we found this wrecked craft. Oh, we found these bodies. And that's the end of the story. I don't think that's the end of the story. And what that made me think of was, I'll see if I can find it real quick. Do y'all remember that crash? It happened in the United States. I think it happened in Vegas. In Vegas, aliens in backyard. And the guy called 911. Yeah. The guy called 911 and he was like, "Hey, um, there's two beings like standing in my backyard." And like people actually reported seeing this green orb flying overhead. And then there was a crash. And then some guy called the police and was like, "Hey, there's these two big beings in my backyard and they're definitely not human." And the cop showed up looking for these things. And then we didn't hear anything else from this story. I don't know if you guys remember this. I wonder when it was a couple months ago. And I followed up on the story for quite a few days and never heard anything more come out of it, because here was my biggest question, because they claim to have video of the beings in the backyard and everything, right? But here's my question. Where did they go? Where did they go? If you got them on camera, you got your eyes on them, the police show up while you're looking at these things. Well, where did they go? Did they run off? Did they burrow underground like a rabbit or like a mole? Did they fly off into outer space? Did they disappear into thin air? Where did they go? No one ever, ever, ever answered that question. In all the news articles that I read, no one ever answered the question, where did these things go? Like, are the cops still looking for them? Like, how did this story conclude? And see, that's why people have a lot of trust issues with the media these days, because they like to report on things, but they don't like to tell the whole story. Like, the whole story would have been police are still scouring the area looking for these beings, or police have determined that this was a hoax, or, you know what I'm saying? Police are continuing to monitor the area, but they never said anything about where these two creatures actually went. Where did they go? Are they still back there? Did they climb a tree? Did they steal somebody's car and take off? Like, where did they go? They never answered that question. They just left it hanging, and then people forgot, right? So all this activity recently, there's been a lot of alien related activity recently. Okay. So back to me thinking that they're already here. And the way we got to where we were so far is I believe humans have been invaded by these things. And here's why I think that. And so we talked about eyesight. Smell is, oh my goodness, that speaks for itself. People can't smell anymore. Yes, I know about allergies, all of that, but people cannot smell anymore. And I think that's very, very interesting. I think it's strange. I think it's weird. I think it's weird to be the only person in a building who can smell something. Now, maybe my sense of smell is on 1000, like a bloodhound, and it sucks. Trust me, there's nothing worse than being able to smell everything. But I'm like, come on, certain scents, like certain things you should be able to smell. And they just don't. They don't smell it. They can't smell. Taste, God almighty. They can't really. Basically, all the senses have been dulled. So the things that should make us human, sight, taste, hearing, they can't hear anything either. Hearing, it's like somebody turn the light switch down. It's like somebody turned the volume down on the five senses on a lot of different people. A lot. There are some people who still have full use of all of their senses, but I'm telling y'all, I have met so many people who do not have the use of their five senses anymore. They don't. And it makes me wonder how they get through the world, not noticing things, not seeing things. You can't smell anything. I know you can't taste anything. I don't know about their sense of touch per se, but I know they can't hear. That much I know. Like, you can even see it come out in the way people do their YouTube videos. Like, people make YouTube videos as if they're not human beings themselves who have to receive what's being presented. So for example, videos that blast your eardrums out, or wild volume variations, and it's not a live stream, because you can't control a lot during a live stream. You kind of can, but it's difficult. But when it's a video, you have a lot of control over the finished product. and you don't hear all those dips in volume. So it's like the volume will be real low, then they'll play a video that blasts your eardrums out, so then you have to turn the volume down. Then they come back and they're talking really, really, really low. It's like you don't hear that. You don't hear that. Either you don't hear it or you don't care, one or the other, which plays into this also. Total lack of concern for the experience of other human beings. Like they just don't care how things affect other human beings, almost as if they're not human themselves. So you wouldn't care about how something affects something that you cannot relate to at all, is kind of what I'm getting at. The reason that these things don't matter to them is because they can't relate to human beings. And that's kind of what plays into my whole dulled senses theory. Your senses are dulled because you don't acknowledge those senses, because you cannot relate to them. You can't relate to taste because you can't taste anything. And because you might not be human, you don't really care what other human beings taste, because it's not even something that you can process. What do you mean taste? What are you talking about? What do you mean hearing? What is hearing? What is too loud? What is too quiet? What are you talking about? Do you see what I'm saying? So it's kind of like their senses are dulled because their senses are not quite as important to them as they would be to a human being. It's almost like they've completely disconnected from the human experience. So there's that. The next thing that makes me think these aliens are already here is what I wrote, oddly non-human reactions, but predictable reactions nonetheless. So it's almost like interacting with living AI. And I know I say all the time I'm not scared of AI yet, and I'm still not. But when I'm trying to describe here the oddly non-human reactions. So, for example, like you call into a customer service person and you actually get a hold of a real person, a living human being, and you explain your situation to them. And instead of them responding in a way that indicates, I heard what you said, I understand what you're saying, let me offer a solution based on what you've said, it's almost like they're pre-programmed. And I know that their training has a lot to do with that. I know they can't go off script that often, but it's more than that, what I'm trying to describe to you. It's almost like, did you hear anything I just said? Did you process anything that I just said to you? Or am I even talking to a human being right now? So it's like dealing with a highly sentient robot, but a robot nonetheless. So, for example, the other day, I have an app for one of the restaurants that I frequent, and the app was glitching. So I went to the little help menu and I filled out the little form, and I was like, hey, when I'm selecting A, it's giving me B. I don't know what's wrong, but when I select A, it's presenting B instead. What do I get back as a response? We're sorry you're having trouble with the app. Sometimes you have to wait 24 hours for your points to show up. And I'm like, I wasn't talking about points. I actually wasn't talking about points. I was trying to tell you that when I push the letter A, B is showing up instead. Kind of like if somebody scrambled your keyboard and you're hitting A and the letter B keeps showing up every time you hit A. But I could tell that my concern wasn't heard or processed. Now, was that probably an automated response by some stupid AI generated program? Yes, more than likely. But it was so disheartening because it still reminded me of the interactions I feel like I face with humans or so-called humans every single day. It's like they cannot process anymore. The ones that have been affected by whatever this thing is, they can't process. It's almost like something came into their being, shut down all things related to being human except standing upright, having their eyes open, and being able to talk. That's it. So they did retain some elements of being human, like being able to walk, talk, eat, sleep, and keep their eyes open. And that's it. That's pretty much it. It's on, and like also similar to that, it's like the world itself seems to have come to some sort of standstill. Like progress has been halted in a very, very weird way. Here's one way I can think of, though, to describe it to you. So they're getting ready to release the iPhone 15, and people are online going crazy over the iPhone 15. And and actually, this proves a point I was making earlier. Let me show you this. So, so what I'm trying to highlight to you is over here on the right-hand side of your screen. This light blue, this light pastel pinkish color, this kind of sea green, then this other weird green and black. People are online going nuts over these colors. They're like, oh, the blue is the best thing I've ever seen. And it's like, you got to be kidding me, right? Let's just go to the website. Now, again, everyone has different tastes. You might you might love pastel blue. That might be your favorite color in the world, and I'm not judging you for that. But people are going bonkers over it. Like, oh my God. I think one of these is actually gray. I think this third one is gray. They're like, this gray is the best gray I've ever seen. It's like, really? Really? It's the best you've ever seen. These dull, flat, boring colors on the same phone that these people have been releasing for years now. It's weird. It's weird. It's like you really have no sense of like quality or discernment or taste or anything. And again, you might like pastel colors. That might be your jam. You might dig pastel. Maybe your whole house is pastel. I'm not judging you for liking pastel. I'm just saying get serious, guys. This is not innovative. There is nothing special about this. I'm surprised they weren't like, "Oh my God, that black is the blackest black I've ever seen. It's beautiful." Like get out of here. Like, you serious? But that's kind of what I mean. Like, if Apple can get you excited about this, it's no wonder they're not trying hard anymore. It's no wonder they're not trying hard. They know that they're dealing with non-human entities who really don't care, and that you can give them the same phone year after year after year after year, and they'll go crazy over it as if it's the best thing that ever happened to them. Okay? So that's what I mean by like, it's almost like we're dealing with highly sentient robots, but robots nonetheless. So that leads me to my next point, which is that words don't work with these people. Now, we talked about that on my other channel at length as it relates to narcissists. But the people that I'm talking about, narcissists or not, words don't work with them. So it almost becomes pointless to even use them. You can try, but it almost seems like the more words you use, the worse it gets. Exactly. Like no seasoning on the food, very bland. Exactly. So the more words you use with these people, the worse it gets. And something else that I've noticed, especially on Twitter, but really anywhere people are commenting and writing things, like a new language has been developed, and it's kind of scary, but it's weird because what was originally supposed to be shorthand has now become a different language that you have to spend time interpreting. Now, the young people will say, "Oh, PT, you're just getting old. You don't know how young people talk." I'm like, I do know how young people talk because my generation kind of started all this, the shortening of words. So I know what words are being substituted. But what I mean is not like abbreviations. What I'm saying is that punctuation is out. so you can forget about punctuation. But punctuation was actually important because it was meant to indicate pauses, new thoughts. When one sentence ended and another sentence started, it was meant to indicate all that. Now you have to figure it out, and it actually takes more time than if you had just used punctuation in the first place. And I get that people aren't going to be proper on the internet, but if you want your point to be understood, why would you make it almost impossible to understand what you're trying to say? Between no punctuation, bad grammar, bad spelling, what language are you speaking, honey? And is the language you're speaking actually meant to be understood? So it's perplexing, but beyond that, because that's my English teacher coming out. Let's forget that part. It's just the simple fact that when you attempt to talk to these specific entities, it's almost like they don't understand what you're saying, even though you're speaking the same language. So words don't really work with them. They all seem to be pre-programmed. Like they're programmed and their program is set, and there's nothing they can do to break out of their program. Nothing. And I think that's part of the reason words kind of mess them up a lot, because words are like input. And if you're putting new inputs into a program, you're going to scramble that program. And it's almost like they've been designed to not be able to receive new input because that's not what they're for. So remember, this whole discussion I'm having right now is my theory that the aliens are already here, and here's why I think that's the case. Okay? So they're pre-programmed. When you try to talk to them, you're messing and interfering with their program. So they have to shut you out because they're running off of a script in their head. And then finally, as we mentioned before, empty seaters. They're empty and therefore prime candidates for this invasion of sorts. So, going back to our main theory, or my main theory, that the aliens are already here and they've been here for a while, and this whole disclosure from Congress, what I think they're hiding from us is the fact that they're already here, and also that they've already invaded, but they don't want to tell us that because they know it would freak us out. Because see, when we think of an alien invasion, we're thinking the sky cracks open, all these UFOs appear and start kind of dropping down from outer space, and all these aliens hop out of the UFOs with some high-tech weapons or whatever, and there's billions of them everywhere, and they're taking over and some take me to your leader type stuff, right? But what if they were smart enough to say, well, if we do that, they're going to go to war with us because they do like war. So if we do that, they're going to fight against us. So we have to find an alternate way in. And this is the way that they found in. Now, how they got in, that is the $1,000,000 question. How they achieve this is the $1,000,000 question. Like how they actually entered the human beings is the $1,000,000 question. I don't know. I do have some theories on how they got in, but as far as one set theory, I'm not 100% sure. I do think technology had a lot to do with it, but keep in mind there are some people that they were not able to get into. So some people are basically like sealed off from their entry. So maybe they tried, or maybe they have some way of recognizing you can't get into that one. So go to the next one. How they did it, I don't know. I don't know if it's something that they do after you're born or something that they did before you were born, like when you were in utero. I'm not sure. But some way they know who they're able to enter and who they are not able to enter into. And the ones they're able to enter into, they absolutely 100% do. Chat says David M. Jacobs' book, Walking Among Us. I'll have to check that out because that's exactly what I feel like it is. They're walking among us. And I constantly think back to my other channel where we talk about narcissists and how much of a problem they are. And it makes me think, what if these narcs, the aliens, they are, I can't even say it. What if these narcs are some of the people who have been invaded by this alien species who chose to attack the mind versus attacking the body? So basically, an internal attack versus an external attack. So it's possible because they seem to go against all things related to life. So then that makes me think of a couple different questions. The first question is, what do they want? Like, ultimately, well, actually, it's the only question. What do they want? What is the end goal? What are they trying to accomplish? What are they trying to achieve? Are they just trying to observe humanity and take notes, kind of like scientists? But if so, why would you be destroying subtly, but destroying nonetheless, the very thing that you're observing? Why would you be slowly destroying it? So are they trying to observe? Are they planning some sort of takeover? Because they're kind of successful at that, because we got some crazy people in charge all over the world. And even if they're not in positions of power, the power to destroy that they have in their own circle of influence is pretty large. So they are successful in that mission, at least. Are they trying to take us over? Are they trying to destroy humanity? Is that the end goal? And for what? Because even when they're living amongst each other, they're just going to be terrorizing each other. Or maybe they're just doing this to destroy humanity. And then when they're successful, then they'll stop being nightmares. I don't know. Do they want planet Earth? And they have to get rid of us first before they can kind of swoop in at full speed? I don't know. So that is the big question. What is the purpose? What would be the purpose of it? And what do they actually want? What do you want? What are you achieving by doing this? Okay. Now, the final piece of this theory, well, two final pieces, and then I'll show you guys something else. So, interesting. Chat says, how about when you have natural love and kindness and they want to eliminate that off of the earth? Kindness attracts these abusers and they want to destroy your natural sweetness. I mean, maybe. So it's like kindness is some sort of a threat to their existence. So that kind of leads into my next thought, which is, in one way, they spread themselves like a virus. And here's how I think they do this. They spread themselves like a virus. Number one, through influence through things like the internet and different forums. And like in many ways, the internet is the greatest thing that's ever happened to us. And it's also the worst thing that's ever happened to us. It's both. But they do it in the physical by encouraging reckless reproduction. So, if you need more empty vessels to inhabit for all your people or whatever you are, your society, to come down from wherever you are, the ether, wherever, another planet, who knows, another dimension, who knows, and you need more vessels, but people are being responsible with their reproduction, meaning only having as many kids as they can afford, doing their best to make sure those kids are brought up in a healthy, safe environment. That's really going to slow your plans down. That's going to tremendously slow your plans down. So the next best thing that you can do is to encourage humans to breed like wild rabbits. Now, I know that the birth rate is currently down worldwide, and that is a problem for them. So what do? You do everything you can to encourage wild, reckless reproduction. So without me getting too graphic and upsetting YouTube's terms of service, you're going to do things that make people very, very interested in each other in kind of a lewd, non-discretionary way. So you're gonna have to take that how you will, and kind of apply that how you will. How do you make people basically give up their morality in every way and run the risk of reproducing with someone who they probably otherwise wouldn't? Kind of like when dogs are in heat. When a dog is in heat, male or female, they really don't care who or which dog gets them pregnant. They're really not discerning like that. It's like, hey, you look like you could get the job done. Let's do it. You see what I mean? Because the world is in such a state right now that, like, women all over the world are choosing to go child free, not because they don't like kids or love kids or want kids, but because they don't see a positive future for their children. So to reproduce in the face of that, either you are well resourced, like you have a lot of resources and a good social and family structure to help support you and that child, or you've been convinced that it's a good idea in spite of the world that you're bringing the children into. And that kind of gets kind of deep, and I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but just really think about it. Like, something has to motivate you to do it anyway in spite of everything that you see. For example, rent. It's my understanding that right now, the average of rent in the United States for like a one-bedroom apartment is anywhere between 17 to $1,800. 1,700 or $1,800 for like a one-bedroom apartment in most major cities. That is insane. That's completely insane. Completely. So, if it's $1,800 today, what will the rent be in about 20 years when your kid needs their first apartment? Unless something major happens to kind of change the direction of everything, it could easily be said that in 20 years, rent for your child might be $3,000 for a one-bedroom apartment if we don't stop the madness. But nobody seems to be able to stop it, which is crazy because the madness is man-made. It's not like a natural barrier, like a waterfall or a mountain or an ocean is preventing us from bringing the rent down. It is man-made. It was created by human beings. So, like, but nobody seems to be able to come up with a solution. I should have added that to my list. The intellect has gone down. Mm. Chat says narcissists always seem to have more kids than non-narcissists. I think because they're impervious to pain, stress, senses, etc. Exactly. It's like they don't feel it. It's like it doesn't register anywhere. So they just do it and do it and do it and do it because it's like, what do you mean outcome? What do you mean consequences? What do you mean thinking ahead? What do you mean? Like, and for those of you who have kids or may even be pregnant right now, I'm not knocking your decision. I'm just saying, for those who actually have the opportunity to choose otherwise, but still somehow believe, in spite of the fact that these humans have not proven themselves trustworthy in changing our current set of circumstances, what exactly is the motivation? And trust me, I get it. I'm a woman. Like, I would love to have a baby just to experience it and see like what it's like. Like, hey, I can do this thing, like birth new life into the world. That's very cool. I would certainly like to test drive that out. But I have to give myself pause and go, girl, well, are you going to be taking care of that kid until they're 30? Because the way things are going right now, it's not looking good. And some people would say, well, PTE, that's why we have to vote and vote our way out of it. And I used to believe that too. I really did used to believe that voting was our answer until I realized that all of these people are insane. They're all compromised. They almost all are acting like what I'm describing here tonight. Like they just don't know what's going on. Like they're all focused on issues that really don't affect the average person. It's weird. It's very strange. So I don't think we're going to be able to vote our way out of this. But anyway, continuing on. Basically, what I'm trying to say is they have found a way to spread themselves like a virus. A virus needs a host. Then it infects the host. Then the host infects other potential hosts. Then the virus can hop from host to host to host. And that's how it stays alive, is what I'm trying to say. So they found a way to do that, and quite successfully, might I add. Quite successfully. And then I should have mentioned this earlier, but I have it written here now. Humans are having the humanity trained out of them. So, as it relates to the dulled senses, the non human reactions, words not working, the lack of empathy, being pre programmed and not being able to think outside of that program, empty seaters, people with the 1,000-yard stare, things of that nature, the declining intellect worldwide. Human beings are having the humanity trained out of them. So it's like everything that makes you human, everything that a human being would respond to or not respond to or whatever is being coached out of you and coached out of us all, really. And it's like the more human you are, the more you're punished in our current society. And you would have to ask yourself why, what would be causing that, and what would be the purpose? So this is all relating back to my overall theory of the aliens already being here. They're already here. They've compromised a large number of human beings, and you know you're interacting with one when basically it's like when you have to ask the question, where's your humanity? Have you no humanity left? Why are you acting like this? Why do I feel like I'm dealing with a sentient robot? Why am I having to talk to you and tell you about basic common sense human things? Do you see what I mean? Like I'm having to teach you how to be a human, basically. And you're not 4 years old, you're 40. So I'm having to teach you how to be a human being and give you examples and analogies and explain. Like sometimes I don't have TikTok, but I watch a lot of TikTok compilations on YouTube. And, they'll be touching on different social issues. And a lot of times when I'm sitting there listening to these people talk about these different social issues, I'm thinking to myself, you're literally having to explain to human beings how to be human beings as if they're 4 years old, just starting to understand language, just starting to understand consequences and cause and effect, just starting to understand these things. You're having to break it down to them as if they're babies, as if they're toddlers versus full blown adults. Why is that? Why are you having to teach humanity? Chat says, but there's an underlying malice to this dehumanization. It seems more demonic than alien to me. Well, some people have said that the aliens are demons. Some people have said that. So I'm not entirely sure. But that's the good word for it. It's a dehumanization. We're being dehumanized and asked more and more each day to not honor our inner humanity. Like, if you're hurt, don't say ouch. If you're entertained, don't laugh. If you see a problem, don't say anything. You know, don't expect justice. Don't um don't don't react. Just kind of be quiet and pretend like you don't see what you see. Pretend like you don't hear what you hear. Pretend like you don't smell what you smell. Pretend it's not happening, because if you bring it to the attention, if you raise it up, almost like whack-a-mole, you're going to get whacked. It's very weird. It's very bizarre. And it seems to be part of the agenda of these potential aliens that are already here. So now that I've presented forth my theory, I want to give you guys a glimmer of hope. I want to give y'all some hope, because that's just a theory. It's just, these are the things I think about when I'm sitting alone thinking about stuff. So I came across this video a while back. The title of this video is 10 Reasons Aliens Might Not Contact Earth by John Michael Gaudier, or Gaudier. I think it's Gaudier. I will link this for you in the description box when the show has concluded. We are not going to watch this video, but I did, yes, just like 1984. Exactly. That was the whole goal of 1984. To basically get it to where you just ignore everything in you, your instincts, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings. Ignore it all. Ignore it all. It doesn't exist. And all of those things are the things that make you human, which kind of makes me think of my primary channel name, Permission to Exist. As is. So yeah, good call, good catch. So well, we're not going to watch this video. What I did was I took notes on the 10 things that this person said. I will link it for you after the show is over. But here are the reasons. So now this is me giving you hope, okay? This is me giving you hope. And actually, let me give you hope in this other way first. So I just told you why I think the aliens are already here. So now I'm going to tell you why some people say they're not here and they're also not coming. So this article came out November 13th, 2022, said NASA scientists present a theory about why we haven't met other intelligent life, and it's crushing. It says NASA scientists have explained in a new paper why they believe it's likely we haven't ever encountered intelligent extraterrestrial life, and it's heartbreaking. All intelligent life, they argue, has likely destroyed itself before reaching a sophisticated enough point in evolution to support such an encounter. And the same fate likely awaits humans unless we take action, they believe. The great filter theory, as in filtering out various forms of life, argues that other civilizations, possibly several, have existed during the life of the universe, but they all destroyed themselves before they could make contact with Earth. The scientists fear that all intelligent life, such as humans, have deeply ingrained dysfunctions that may snowball quickly into the great filter. But there's still a bit of hope for humans, provided we can learn and take steps to avoid our own extinction. Okay? So, what this article is basically saying is that other intelligent life has existed before, but it destroys itself before it can ever reach out to the rest of the universe. All right? So, I wanted to raise that issue because it's kind of pathetic. Like, wow. Like, we can't keep ourselves alive long enough to make contact with other worlds. So there's one theory. So now back to this video that I mentioned. Here are the 10 reasons this particular creator thinks we're not going to, or aliens might not contact Earth. Number one, we're too warlike. So basically, we fight too much, and we like to fight with other things. And if they tried to reach out to us, basically, they look on us and go, wow, they're hostile. That's a hostile bunch, yeah? They're a little they're a little violent, yeah? They're real violent. So as a result of that violence, they don't reach out because it's like, yeah, you're a little crazy. Reason number two, we're not advanced enough. So basically, they're on such a high level that it would be the equivalent of us trying to reach out to like bacteria, or us trying to reach out to like mushrooms, or us trying to reach out to like an ant colony and like make contact with the ant colony, which we could easily do. We can walk over to an ant colony, say, "Hey, what's up?" to some of the ants, try not to get bit, and then just kind of walk off like, you know, like we're on two different levels to such an extent that it's not even worth it. The next reason he thinks aliens may not ever come contact us is what he called the prime directive, meaning you don't interfere with a developing civilization. It's like a universal rule. And also that they just see no value in interfering, like they have nothing to gain from interacting with us. It's not going to make them better or worse. It's just like a neutral proposition for them. But primarily, you don't interfere with a developing civilization. You kind of have to let them come into their own on their own. The next reason that he gave is he said aliens never contact anyone. So it's just not something that they do. It's not on their list of things to do. It's not important to them, basically. And that it's us making the assumption that aliens would want to contact us. Like, they might have other things to do. And we assume that them making contact with us is as important to them as it is to us. So that's the next reason. The next reason he gave is that they don't know we're here. So in this part, he was talking about radio signals and how long it takes radio signals to travel and things of that nature. And considering the distance between planets or whatever, any signals being sent out from us or them might just get lost in outer space. And therefore, they don't know we're here. Or maybe they're so far away, just so very far away, they have no idea we're even here. Because, according to them, we're just one planet in this big, giant Milky Way galaxy, which is one galaxy of many galaxies, according to them. So if that's the case, they could be way on the other side of the universe and just not even know we're here. We assume they're there, and maybe they assume we're here, but we're so far away we would never actually be able to tell. So that's one theory. Also, on that theory, oh, no, it's the next reason he gave. Contact is futile. So what he was saying was that like their communication instruments and ours may not speak to each other. So I'm trying to think of a good example. I can't think of a good example off the top of my. It's kind of like trying to use a walkie-talkie for those of you who remember walkie-talkies, handheld communication devices, to call a cell phone. So it doesn't matter how good your cell phone is, and it doesn't matter how good my walkie-talkie is. If they can't talk to each other, then it's not going to get through. The message is not going to get through. Or, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another example and I just can't. So maybe the way that we communicate can't talk to each other, or the language that they speak may not translate to how we receive communication. Because keep in mind, we really only have the five senses: hearing, taste, touch, smell, and sight. Well, what if there's another sense that we haven't developed a machine for because we don't even know that it exists? So they could have been communicating this whole time, but we didn't know and wouldn't know because we don't have the technology or the tools to even hear them. You see what I'm saying? So there's another reason. The next reason similar to that is that we're too different from one another. So we're so different that we wouldn't recognize them if they were standing right in front of us potentially, because we're just that different from one another. The next reason he gave, he said, we are alone in our abilities to communicate. So we can't communicate with each other because perhaps we're the only ones who actually do communicate. We assume communication to be something universal in all living things. But what if that's not the case? What if other things don't necessarily either don't communicate at all or don't communicate like we do? So once again, it would be a foreign language. So for example, what if every time it rains, that's the aliens like talking to us? But to us, we say, well, no, it's raining because there's clouds and atmospheric pressure and temperatures. And when all those come together, it rains. And that's why we have condensation on the earth. But what if the aliens are like, oh my God, we just made it rain again. We just tried to talk to them again. And they just think it's coming from the clouds. They don't realize it's from us. You see what I'm saying? What if thunder is a way for them to communicate with us? Like that's how they speak. Like it rumbles, then it thunders, and it's like, hey, y'all, what's up? Here we are. And we're like, wow, that thunder was amazing. Because you hear how loud it was? They're like, oh my God, they don't get it. They don't get it. Chat says they say interstellar space is just too vast to cross from one solar system to another within a lifetime. Exactly. Chat says signals and frequencies. Exactly. What if they communicate in signals and frequencies, but our machinery can't pick it up? Chat says, is it psychotic to even try to rationalize or try to figure something out that's beyond our reach? There are constellations beyond constellations, but humans have never been there. Right. So I think that's kind of funny to think about, though. Like, what if every time there's a bolt of lightning, they're like, all right, this one is going to be the one where they finally understand we're communicating with them. Boom, bolt of lightning. And we're like, wow, look at the electrostatic energy going up to the sky and mixing with the clouds and creating lightning. They're like, oh my God, they're never going to get it. They can't decode it. So that's another one as far as communication. They might be communicating, but we can't decode it. So like, what if they communicate through the birds and like make the birds send out signals in a language and we hear it and we're like, wow, what beautiful music the birds are making today. And the birds are like, I'm trying to tell you something, but you don't understand what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? Um, the next reason he gave is that you don't blow your planet's cover. So if they are nearby, if they do know we're here, but they know that we don't know that they're there, they're not incentivized to blow their cover. they're not they're not incentivized to actually say, hey guys, we're over here. So here's kind of a creepy way to think about it. It's almost like if somebody was living in your house but you didn't know, and they know that you don't know that they're there, and they may not even have ill intentions toward you. Now, why they're in your house without your permission or without your awareness, who knows? The possibilities are endless, but they're there. Kind of like those stories you hear on true crime shows where somebody was like living in the attic or the basement and the homeowner didn't know. Similar, similar. So, what if they're there? They know they're there, but they also know that you don't know that they're there. They are not incentivized to tell you that they're there because you don't want to blow your planet's cover. You don't want them to know that you're there because that's going to create a problem for you. Chat says we're such a pathetically warmongering bunch. We really are. Like, we just want to fight immediately. Like, I don't think if they showed themselves like, hey, we're friendly, we don't mean any harm, we don't want anything bad, like the first thing the government's going to do is shoot them down. Like, that's going to be among the first actions that they take. They're going to shoot them down. They're not going to let them land and calmly come off their spacecraft and be like, hi everybody, we're here, we don't mean any harm, we just wanted to say hi. Boom, boom, boom. Now they're done. You see what I'm saying? And they know that about us. We are pathetically warmongering. And they know that, which makes that reason that not wanting to blow your cover even more accurate, because it's like if they ever know that we're here or nearby, they're going to try to shoot us out the sky. So there's that. And then the final reason he gave was there's something about the universe that we don't know. And I thought that was among the most interesting of reasons that he gave. And one of the examples he gave was he said, for example, is the universe a simulation? Meaning we assume all this stuff. We assume all these galaxies and constellations and planets and suns and asteroids. We assume all that stuff is there, you know, because allegedly we've seen it with telescopes. Don't get me started. That's a different video. But even seeing it with telescopes or whatever, like, how do you know you're just not looking at the simulation itself? How do we know we're not in a really in-depth, deep simulation? Because as you can see on the screen, the name of the video is The Great Silence, which is what scientists call the fact that we have not been contacted, at least to our knowledge, in a meaningful way by anyone else out there. So they call it the Great Silence. It's like, how come you don't call? How come you don't text us? How come you don't come visit us? We're trying to figure out like why we don't know for a fact there's a civilization like on Mars, or for a fact there's a civilization like on Venus. You know, how come we've never seen them? How come we've never bumped into each other out in outer space? Or even had like some of their space trash or some of their space debris. Like, how come? Like, where are they, basically? So those are all the reasons he gave. I will link this video for you. And actually, I'll throw the link now because then y'all will click on that and you'll click off the show. So I'll wait. But you can check that video out whenever. And I will link it for you after the show is over. So I have one final thought. One final thought, and then we'll get out of here. So the thought that I'm having is, I think we're looking in the wrong place. Everyone is looking towards the sky for this alien invasion. But personally, I think if the invasion ever happens, they are going to come out of the ocean. They're going to come out of the ocean. And I'll tell you why I think that. Okay. So it's kind of deep. Some of you are already kind of familiar with some of these theories. But essentially, some people say that the earth is a closed system, meaning, at least as far as going up, there's really no way to get out of Earth's atmosphere. And this has been confirmed because we can't make it past I think they're called the Van Allen belts. Hold on. Let me see. Make sure I'm right. Van Allen belt. Yeah. So there's something called the Van Allen radiation belt. And it says a Van Allen radiation belt is a zone of energetic charged particles, most of which originate from the solar wind, that are captured by and held around a planet by that planet's magnetosphere. Earth has two such belts, and sometimes others are temporarily created. So basically, when you ask NASA, how come we haven't been back to the moon? They will answer and say, well, we're having trouble getting past the Van Allen radiation belts, which would beg the question, then how did you get past them the first time back in 1960? But anyway, what I'm trying to say to you is, I don't think we can actually get out, not up anyway. So we can't escape Earth through the sky. However, I do believe it's possible that while we are a closed, pressurized system, I do think that there are entrances and exits, and I think they exist in the deep ocean. Yeah, the firmament, that dome. Yeah, I do think there are entrances and exits, and I think they exist in the deep ocean. And the reason I think that is because, number one, we still haven't reached the actual bottom because we don't have equipment that can go down that far. Every time we try to send like an exploratory submarine, even unmanned, that has no people on it, After a certain depth, it's going to get crushed by the pressure. So we still, for example, have not been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Is it Mariana or Marietta? Mariana? We haven't been to the bottom of that trench. Y'all know what trench I'm talking about. We can't get there. And scientists speculate that there are other parts of the ocean that we have not been able to explore because it's too deep and we cannot get there. We can't send equipment down there that will survive that long. Which leads me to thinking, well, what's down there? Because they're discovering new sea creatures all the time. All the time. And they're like deep sea creatures, and they usually have like really, really big eyes because there's no light down there. And there's no light. And so they have to like evolve other things to like make their way around down there. But the theory I will leave you with is this. And I'm not going to go too far into it because I don't think YouTube likes it for some reason. I don't think they like it. But there are some people who say that, well, number one, we're completely enclosed. We're a closed system. But there are some people who say, like, for example, okay, they're trying to figure out what dark matter is. And dark matter, from my understanding, is basically, they're trying to figure out basically why do the stars like stay in place? What's causing that if it's not gravity? What is dark matter? I want to give y'all a good definition. Dark matter, in some cosmological theories, non-luminous, meaning no light, material that is postulated to exist in space and that could take any of several forms, including weakly interacting particles or high energy, randomly moving particles. So, in other words, they think that there's something out there that basically does not generate its own light. And they think there's a whole lot of it. And what some people are saying is that we are completely surrounded by water. And it is one of my favorite theories, y'all. It is one of my favorite outer space theories because I think it might be true. So, in other words, beyond our atmosphere is not air, because they claim there's no air in outer space. They claim it's a vacuum, right? Some people say that it's not a vacuum, that it's water, that we are completely surrounded by water, completely surrounded by water, which would make sense because our planet is mostly water. I think Earth is 70% water, if not more, give or take. So then some people might say, well, PTE, then what is air? Air is nothing but thin water. You ever thought about it like that? Air is thin water, which is why you could have something like humidity, which is why we have air currents and things like that. Current, just like a current in the water, you can have a current in the air. Air is very, very, very thin water, which is why in some places where it's real humid, that means there's a lot of water in the air more than usual. Some places that are very arid don't have a lot of water in the air, but it's all water. It's thin water. So basically what I'm trying to say to you is, if the aliens do invade, they're probably going to come out of the ocean because the ocean is so huge, so gigantic, with probably multiple entry and exit points that can't all be monitored at the same time. They can't even find airplanes that go down in the ocean. I think they just found flight MH340 or 350, that flight that disappeared years ago and they never found it. I think they just found it the other day, actually. They can't even find airplanes that go down in the ocean. So versus coming from the sky, which you can monitor large chunks of the sky at a time, but baby, they cannot monitor that ocean. And this is where I think they're going to pop out of. So those of you who live near the shores, be careful, because when they do pop out, They're probably gonna pop out of, the ocean and come ashore, but that's just my theory. I don't know if that's true, may or may not be true, who knows? But one thing I do know is that I really, really enjoy thinking about this stuff. I just think it's very, very interesting to think about, and I don't think we have all the answers, and I think the people who know more than we do certainly would never tell us everything that they know. And I think the main reason they wouldn't tell us everything that they know is because it would scare us too much and it would cause worldwide chaos. And also, they would lose control immediately. Immediately. Like everything that we've been doing, all the different systems we've been participating in, like paying bills, paying rent, you know, basically civilization would collapse on itself. Yeah, I think they did. Let me see. I'm pretty sure they did find the Malaysia flight. Did they find the Malaysia flight? I feel like I saw an article just the other day, I feel like. Yeah, MH370. MH370. Let me try and search a different way. MH370 may have been found. Stop it. Oh, yeah. It says here, I'll share the screen. I thought I saw it somewhere. So this came out August 24th, 2023. It says MH370 plane mystery may be solved with the help of barnacles. New research suggests the aircraft may have drifted far south of where previously thought. Oh, and they're going to block the article. Well, it says barnacles found on a piece of plane debris might hold the key to discovering what happened to MH370, the Malaysia Airlines flight that disappeared in 2014. And then I'm blocked from reading the rest. But I feel like I saw something more recent than that. Like just the other day. Maybe that's the article I saw, but I could have sworn it was more recent. Let's see. Oh no, here it is right here. Location of lost flight MH370 may have been found. Is this a sketchy website? Let's see. Oh God. Oh God. I think I clicked on a sketch. Oh no. No, it's not sketch. It says aviation experts believe research may have uncovered the final resting place of flight MH370, which disappeared in 2014. The Malaysia Airlines airplane disappeared roughly 38 minutes after leaving Kuala Lumpur Airport, headed for Beijing on March 8, 2014. The plane was never found, and the fate of its 237 passengers remain unknown. However, new research uncovered by Richard Godfrey, Dr. Hans Coetzee, and Professor Simon Maskell may uncover some of the missing pieces. The 299-page report released on Wednesday suggests the missing wreckage may be located roughly 1,560 kilometers west of Perth, Australia. The theory comes from groundbreaking amateur radio technology known as a weak signal propagation reporter, or WSPR. This technology has been developed over the past 3 years, and the results represent credible new evidence. It aligns with analysis by Boeing and drift analysis by the University of Western Australia of debris recovered around the Indian Ocean. So, yeah, I knew I saw it recently. This came out September 1st. And that kind of proves my point, which is the ocean is so big and so deep that we still haven't found certain airplanes that have gone down. So keep your eyes on the water, babies, because that's probably where they're going to pop out from. And with that, I have enjoyed tonight's show. I do have another show in mind for you guys. It will probably be closer to this weekend coming up. Well, when I'll be able to do that show. But I think you'll find it very interesting. I have some interesting theories around that one as well. But it is good to be back. It's good to see all of you. I appreciate you guys so much for hanging in there with me. If you're not on the mailing list, I have put a link to the mailing list in the description box so you can sign up. But with that, I'm going to close it out. And if you guys hear anything else regarding all this alien activity, please leave it in the comment section down below and let me know. But with that, enjoy your evening, and I hope you all have a great week. Okay? Take care. Bye.